I'm going to monitor on the phone.
Welcome to the San Francisco Lodge of the Theosophical Society. This is the Tibetan book of the Great Liberation. Part 1. The introductory preliminaries, the obeisance. To the divine ones, the Trikaya, who are the embodiment of the all-enlightened mind itself, obeisance. The foreword. This treatise appertains to the profound doctrine of self-liberation by meditating upon the peaceful and wrathful deities. It expounds the yoga of knowing the mind, the seeing of reality, self-liberation. By this method, one's mind is understood. The Guru's first charge to the disciples and the invocation. O blessed disciples, ponder these teachings deeply. Samaya, Gaya, Gaya, Gaya. Imaho. Salutation to the one mind. All hail to the one mind that embraces the whole samsara and nirvana, that eternally is as it is, yet is unknown. That although clear and ever existing, is not visible. That although radiant and unobscured, is not recognized. These teachings supplement those of the Buddhas. These teachings are for the purpose of enabling one to know this mind, all that has been taught heretofore by the Buddhas of the three times, in virtue of their having known this mind. Recorded in the Door of the Dharma, consisting of the 84,000 shlokas, and elsewhere, remains incomprehensible. The conquerors have not elsewhere taught anything concerning the one mind. Although as vast as the illimitable sky, the sacred scriptures contain but a few words relating to the knowledge of the mind. Thus, the true explanation of these eternal teachings of the conquerors, constitutes the correct method of their practical application. The Guru's second charge to the disciples. Kai Kai Ho. Blessed disciples, hearken. The result of not knowing the one mind. Knowledge of that which is vulgarly called mind is widespread, inasmuch as the one mind is unknown, or thought of erroneously, or known one-sidedly without being thoroughly known as it is. Desire for these teachings will be immeasurable. They will also be sought after by ordinary individuals who, not knowing the one mind, do not know themselves. They wander hither and thither in the three regions, and thus among the 6 classes of beings, suffering sorrow. Such is the result of their error of not having attained understanding of their mind. Because their suffering is in every way overpowering, even self-control is lacking to them. Thus, although one may wish to know the mind as it is, one fails. The results of desires. Others, in accordance with their own particular faith and practice, having become fettered by desires, cannot perceive the clear light. They are overwhelmed by suffering and are in darkness because of their suffering. Although the middle path contains the twofold truth, because of desires, it finally becomes obscured. Desires likewise obscure Kriya Yoga and Seva Sadhana, and even the greatest and humblest, greatest and sublimest states of mind, the transcendent at one mint. There being no duality, pluralism is untrue. Until duality is transcended and at one mint realized, enlightenment cannot be attained. The whole samsara and nirvana, as an inseparable unity, are one's mind, the great self-liberation. Owing to worldly beliefs, which he is free to accept or reject, man wanders in the samsara. Therefore, practicing the Dharma, freed from every attachment, grasp the whole essence of these teachings expounded in this yoga of self-liberation by knowing the mind in its real nature. The truths set forth herein are known as the great self-liberation, and in them culminates the doctrine of the great ultimate perfection. The Guru's third charge to the disciples. Samaya, Gaya, 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 the nature of mind. That which is commonly called mind is of intuitive wisdom. Although the one mind is, it has no existence. Being the source of all the bliss of nirvana and all the sorrow of the samsara, it is cherished like the 11 yanas, the names given to the mind. The various names given to it are innumerable. Some call it the mental self. Certain heretics call it the ego. By the Hinayanists, it is called the essentiality of doctrines. By the Yogacara, it is called wisdom. Some call it the means of attaining the other shore of wisdom. Some call it the Buddha essence. Some call it the great symbol. Some call it the soul seed. Some call it the potentiality of truth. Some call it the all foundation. Other names in ordinary language are also given to it. Part 2, the practical application, the timelessness of mind. If one knows how to apply in a threefold manner this knowing of the mind, all past knowledge lost to memory becomes perfectly clear, and also knowledge of the future, thought of as unborn and unconceived. In the present, when the mind remains as it is naturally, it is ordinarily comprehended by its own time, mind in its true state. When one seeks one mind in its true state, it is found to be quite intelligible, although invisible. In its true state, mind is naked, immaculate, not made of anything, being of the voidness, clear, vacuous, without duality, transparent, timeless, uncompounded, unimpeded, colorless, not recognizable as a separate thing, but as the unity of all things, yet not composed of them, of one taste, and transcendent over differentiation. Nor is one's own mind separable from other minds. To realize the quintessential being of the one mind is to realize the immutable at one-ment of the Trikaya. The mind being as the uncreated and of the voidness, the Dharmakaya, and as the vacuous and self-radiant, the Sambhogakaya, and as the unobscured, shining for all living creatures, the Nirmanakaya, is the primordial essence wherein its three divine aspects are one. If the yogic application of this wisdom be thorough, one will comprehend that which has just been set forth above. Mind is non-created. Mind in its true nature being non-created and self-radiant, how can one, without knowing the mind, assert that mind is created? There being in this yoga nothing objective upon which to meditate, how can one, without having ascertained the true nature of mind by meditation, assert that mind is created? Mind in its true state being reality, how can one, without having discovered one's own mind, assert that mind is created? Mind in its true state being undoubtedly ever existing, how can one, without having seen the mind face to face, assert that mind is created? The thinking principle being of the very essence of mind, how can one, without having sought and found it, assert that mind is created? Mind being transcended over creation and thus partaking of the uncreated, how can one assert that mind is created? Mind being in its primordial, unmodified naturalness, non-created, as it should be taken to be, and without form, how can one assert that it is created? Inasmuch as mind can also be taken to be devoid of quality, how can one venture to assert that it is created? The self-born, qualityless mind, being like the three voids, unindifferentiated, unmodified, how can one assert that mind is created? Mind being without objectivity and causation, self-originated, self-born, how can one, without having endeavored to know mind, assert that mind is created? Inasmuch as divine wisdom dawns in accordance with its own time, and one is emancipated, how can opponents of these teaching assert that it is created? Mind being as it is, of this nature, and thus unknowable, how can one assert that it is created? The yoga of introspection. the one mind being verily of the voidness and without any foundation. One's mind is, likewise, as vacuous as the sky. To know whether this be so or not, look within thine own mind. Being of the voidness, and thus not to be conceived as having beginning or ending, self-born wisdom has in reality been shining forever, like the sun's essentiality, itself unborn. To know whether this be so or not,
look within thine own mind.
divine wisdom, ever-flowing current of a river. To know whether this be so or not,
look within thine own mind.
Being merely a flux of instability like the air of the firmament, objective appearances are without power to fascinate and fetter. To know whether this be so or not,
look within thine own mind.
All appearances are verily one's own concepts, self-conceived in the mind, like reflections seen in a mirror. To know whether this be so or not,
look within thine own mind.
Arising of themselves and being naturally free like the clouds in the sky, all external appearances verily fade away into their own respective places. To know whether this be so or not,
look within thine own mind.
The Dharma within. The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no other place of meditation than the mind. The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no other doctrine to be taught or practiced elsewhere. The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no other place of truth for the observance of a vow. The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no Dharma elsewhere whereby liberation may be attained. Again and again,
look within thine own mind.
When looking outwards into the vacuitive space, there is no place to be found where the mind is shining. When looking inwards into one's own mind in search of the shining, there is to be no thing that shines. One's own mind is transparent, without a being of the clear light of the voidness. One's own mind is the Dharmakaya, and being void of quality, it is comparable to a cloudless sky. It is not a multiplicity, and is omniscient. Very great, indeed, is the difference between knowing and not knowing the import of these teachings, the wondrousness of these teachings. The self-originated clear light, eternally unborn, is a parentless babe of wisdom. Wondrous is this. Being non-created, it is natural wisdom.
Wondrous is this.
Not having birth, it knows not death.
Wondrous is this.
Although it is total reality, there is no perceiver of it.
Wondrous is this.
Although wandering in the samsara, it remains undefiled by evil.
Wondrous is this.
Although seeing the Buddha, it remains unallied to good.
Wondrous is this.
Although possessed by all beings, it is not recognized.
Wondrous is this.
Those not knowing the fruit of this yoga seek other fruit.
Wondrous is this.
Although the clear light of reality shines within one's own mind, the multitude look for it elsewhere. Wondrous is this. The fourfold great path. All hail to this wisdom here set forth concerning the invisible, immaculate mind. This teaching is the most excellent of teachings. This meditation, devoid of mental concentration, all-embracing, free from every imperfection, is the most excellent of meditations. This practice concerning the uncreated state, when rightly comprehended, is the most excellent of practices. The fruit of the yoga of the eternally unsought, naturally produced, is the most excellent of fruits. Herewith we have accurately revealed the fourfold great path. This teaching, without error, the great path, is of the clear wisdom here set forth, which, being clear and unerring, is called the path. This meditation upon this unerring great path is of the clear wisdom here set forth, which, being clear and unerring, is called
the path.
This practice relating to this unerring great path is of the clear wisdom here set forth, which, being clear and unerring, is called
the path.
the fruit of this unerring great path is of the clear wisdom here set forth, which, being clear and unerring, is called the path. The great light. This yoga also concerns the foundation of the immutable great light. The teaching of this changeless great light is of the unique clear wisdom here set forth, which, illuminating the three times, is called
The light.
the meditation upon this changeless great light is of the unique clear wisdom here set forth, which, illuminating the three times, is called
The light.
the practice relating to this changeless great light is of the unique clear wisdom here set forth, which, illuminating three times, is called
The light.
the fruit of this changeless great light is of the unique clear wisdom here set forth, which, illuminating the three times, is called
The light.
the doctrine of the three times. The essence of the doctrine concerning the three times in at-one-ment will now be expounded. The yoga concerning past and future not being practiced, memory of the past remains latent. The future not being welcomed is completely severed by the mind from the present. The present, not being fixable, remains in the state of the voidness. The yoga of the nirvanic path. There being no thing upon which to meditate, no meditation is there whatsoever. There being no thing to go astray, no going astray is there, if one be guided by memory. Without meditating, without going astray, look into the true state, wherein self-cognition, self-knowledge, self-illumination shine resplendently. These, so shining, are called
The bodhisattvic mind.
In the realm of wisdom, transcendent over all meditation, naturally illuminative, where there is no going astray, the various concepts, self-liberation, and the primordial voidness are of the Dharmakaya. Without realization of this, the goal of the nirvanic path is unattainable. Simultaneously with its realization, the Vajrasattva state is realized. These teachings are exhaustive of all knowledge, exceedingly deep and immeasurable. Although they are to be contemplated in a variety of ways, to this mind of self-cognition and self-originated wisdom, there are no two such things as contemplation and contemplator. When exhaustively contemplated, these teachings merge in at one-ment with the scholarly seeker who has sought them, although the seeker himself, when sought, cannot be found. Thereupon is attained the goal of the seeking, and also the end of the search itself. Then nothing more is there to be sought, nor is there need to seek anything. This beginningless, vacuous, unconfused, clear wisdom of self-cognition is the very same as that set forth in the doctrine of the great perfection. Although there are no two such things as knowing and not knowing, there are profound and innumerable sorts of meditation, and surpassingly excellent it is in the end to know one's mind. There being no two such things as object of meditation and meditator, if by those who practice or do not practice meditation, the meditator of meditation be sought and not found, thereupon the goal of the meditation is reached, and also the end of the meditation itself. There being no two things as meditation and object of meditation, there is no need to fall under the sway of deeply obscuring ignorance, for, as the result of meditation upon the unmodified quiescence of mind, the non-created wisdom instantaneously shines forth clearly. Although there is an innumerable variety of profound practices, to one's mind in its true state they are non-existent, for there are no two such things as existence and non-existence. There being no two such things as practice and practitioner, if by those who practice or do not practice, the practitioner of practice be sought and not found, Thereupon the goal of the practice is reached, and also the end of the practice itself. Inasmuch from eternity there is nothing whatsoever to be practiced, there is no need to fall under the sway of errant propensities. The non-created, self-radiant wisdom here set forth, being actionless, immaculate, transcendent over acceptance or rejection, is itself the perfect practice. Although there are no two such things as pure and impure, there is an innumerable variety of fruits of yoga, all of which, to one's mind in its true state, are the conscious content of the non-created Trikaya. There being no two such things as action and performer of action, if one seeks the performer of action and no performer of action be found anywhere, thereupon the goal of all fruit obtaining is reached, and also the final consummation itself. There being no other method whatsoever of obtaining the fruit, there is no need to fall under the sway of the dualities of accepting and rejecting, trusting and distrusting these teachings. Realization of the self-radiant and self-born wisdom as the manifestation of the Trikaya in the self-cognizing mind is the very fruit of attaining the perfect nirvana. The explanation of the names given to this wisdom. This wisdom delivers one from the eternally transitory eight aims. Inasmuch as it does not fall under the sway of any extreme, it is called the middle path. It is called wisdom because of its unbroken continuity of memory. Being the essence of the vacuity of mind, it is called the essence of the Buddhist. If the significance of these teachings were known by all beings, surpassingly excellent would it be. Therefore, these teachings are called the means of attaining the other shore of wisdom, or the transcendental wisdom. To them who have passed away into nirvana, this mind is both beginningless and endless. Therefore, it is called the great symbol. Inasmuch as this mind, by being known and by not being known, becomes the foundation of all the joys of nirvana and all the sorrows of samsara, it is called the all foundation. The impatient, ordinary person, when dwelling in his fleshly body, calls this very clear wisdom common intelligence. Regardless of whatever elegant and varied names be given to this wisdom as the result of thorough study, what wisdom other than it, as here revealed, can one really desire? To desire more than this wisdom is to be like one who seeks an elephant by following its footprints, when the elephant itself has been found. The yoga of the thatness. Quite impossible is it, even though one seek throughout the three regions to find the Buddha elsewhere than in the mind. Although he that is ignorant of this may seek externally or outside the mind to know himself, how is it possible to find oneself when seeking others rather than oneself? He that thus seeks to know himself is like a fool giving a performance in the midst of a crowd and forgetting who he is, and then seeking everywhere to find himself. This simile also applies to one's erring in other ways. Unless one knows or sees the natural state of substances or things and recognizes the light in the mind, release from the samsara is unattainable. Unless one sees the Buddha in one's mind, nirvana is obscured. Although the wisdom of nirvana and the ignorance of the samsara illusorily appear to be two things, they cannot truly be differentiated. It is an error to conceive them otherwise than as one. Erring and non-erring are intrinsically also a unity. By not taking the mind to be naturally a duality, and allowing it as the primordial consciousness to abide in its own place, beings attain deliverance. The error of doing otherwise than this arises not from ignorance in the mind itself, but from not having sought to know the thatness. Seek within thine own self-illuminated, self-originated mind whence, firstly, all such concepts arise. Secondly, where they exist. and lastly, whither they vanish. This realization is likened to that of a crow which, although already in possession of a pond, flies off elsewhere to quench its thirst, and finding no other drinking place, returns to the one pond. Similarly, the radiance which emanates from the one mind, by emanating from one's own mind, emancipates the mind. The one mind, omniscient, vacuous, immaculate, eternally, the unobscured voidness, void of quality as the sky, self-originated wisdom, shining clearly, imperishable, is itself the thatness. The whole visible universe also symbolizes the one mind. By knowing the all-consciousness in one's mind, one knows it to be as void of quality as the sky. Although the sky may be taken provisionally as an illustration of the unpredictable thatness, it is only symbolically so, inasmuch as the vacuity of all visible things is to be recognized as merely analogous to the apparent vacuity of the sky, devoid of mind, content, and form. The knowing of the mind does not depend on the sky symbol. Therefore, not straying from the path, remain in that very state of the voidness. The yogic science of mental concepts. The various concepts, too, being illusory and none of them real, fade away accordingly. Thus, for example, everything postulated of the whole, the samsara and nirvana, arises from nothing more than mental concepts. Changes in one's train of thought or in one's association of ideas produce corresponding changes in one's conception of the external world. Therefore, the various views concerning things are due merely to different mental concepts. The 6 classes of beings respectively conceive ideas in different ways. The unenlightened externally see the externally transitory dually. The various doctrines are seen in accordance with one's own mental concepts. As a thing is viewed, so it appears. To see things as a multiplicity and so to cleave under separateness is to err. Now follows the yoga of knowing all mental concepts. Seeing of the radiance of this wisdom or mind, which shines without being perceived, is Buddhahood. Mistake not. By not controlling one's thoughts, one errs. By controlling and understanding the thought process in one's mind, emancipation is attained automatically. In general, all things mentally perceived are concepts. The bodily forms in which the world of appearances is contained are also concepts of mind. The quintessence of the 6 classes of beings is also a mental concept. The happiness of gods in heaven worlds and of men is another mental concept. The 3 unhappy states of suffering, too, are concepts of mind. Ignorance, miseries, and the 5 poisons are likewise mental concepts. Self-originated divine wisdom is also a concept of the mind. The full realization of the passing away into nirvana is also a concept of mind. Misfortune caused by demons and evil spirits is also a concept of mind. Gods and good fortune are also concepts of mind. Likewise, the various perfections are mental concepts. Unconscious one-pointedness is also a mental concept. The color of any objective thing is also a mental concept. The qualityless and formless is also a mental concept. The one and the many in at one ment is also a mental concept. Existence and non-existence, as well as the non-created, are concepts of the mind. The realization and the great liberation. Nothing save mind is conceivable. Mind, when uninhibited, conceives all that comes into existence. That which comes into existence is like the wave of an ocean. The state of mind transcendent over all dualities brings liberation. It matters not what name may carelessly be applied to mind. Truly mind is one, and apart from mind, there is naught else. That unique one mind is foundationless and rootless. There is nothing else to be realized. The non-created is the non-visible. By knowing the invisible voidness and the clear light, through not seeing them separately, there being no multiplicity in the voidness, one's own clear mind may be known, yet the thatness itself is not knowable. Mind is beyond nature, but is experienced in bodily forms. The realization of the one mind constitutes the all deliverance. Without mastery of the mental processes, there can be no realization. Similarly, although sesamum seed is the source of oil and milk the source of butter, not until the seed be pressed and the milk churned do the oil and butter appear. Although sentient beings are of the Buddha essence itself, not until they realize this can they attain nirvana. Even a cowherd or an illiterate person may by realization attain liberation. The concluding sections, the general conclusion. Though lacking in power of expression, the author has here made a faithful record of his own yogic experiences. To one that has tasted honey, it is superfluous for those who have not tasted it to offer an explanation of its taste. Not knowing the one mind, even pandits go astray, despite their cleverness in expounding the many different doctrinal systems. To give ear to the reports of one who has neither approached nor seen the Buddha, even for a moment, is like hearkening to flying rumors concerning a distant place one has never visited. Simultaneously, with the knowing of the mind comes release from good and evil. If the mind is not known, all practice of good and evil results in nothing more than heaven, hell, or the samsara. As soon as one's mind is known to be of the wisdom of the voidness, concepts like good and evil karma cease to exist. Even as the empty sky seems to be, but is not, a fountain of water, so in the voidness is neither good nor evil. When the mind is thus known in its nakedness, this doctrine of seeing the mind naked, this self-liberation, is seen to be exceedingly profound. Seek, therefore, thine own wisdom within thee. It is the vast deep. The final good wishes. All hail! This is the knowing of the mind, the seeing of reality, self-liberation. For the sake of future generations who shall be born during the age of darkness, these essential aphorisms, necessarily brief and concise, herein set forth, were written down in accordance with tantric teachings. Although taught during this present epoch, the text of them was hidden away amidst a cache of precious things. May this book be read by those blessed devotees of the future. The Guru's final charge to the disciples. Samaya, Gaya, Gaya, Gaya. Vast, vast, vast is divine wisdom. These teachings, called the knowing of the mind in its self-identifying, self-realizing, self-liberating reality, were formulated by Padmasambhava, the spiritually endowed teacher from Urgan. May they not wane until the whole samsara is empty.
Clear light is the
Source of light that lighteth every one of humankind that comes into the world. It is the radiance of cosmic consciousness. Yogans realize it while still in the fleshly body, and all humans glimpse it at the moment of death. It is the light of the Buddha, the Christ, and all masters of life. And to the devotee in whom it shines unimpededly, it is the Guru and the Deliverer.